Regular meeting Tuesday, April 5th to order. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
God, our creator of all there is and ever shall be, we ask you to shine your light down upon our city. Shine your light of protection and blessings down on all the people that work for the city, our police, our firemen, and all of our residents. We ask you to continue guiding us in the right direction, as you have been. For this we are thankful. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless you, everybody. Roll call, Mrs. Shutt, or Handbill.
Mayor Dale Masson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Terrence Rowe.
Here.
Councilwoman Nancy Britton.
Here.
Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell.
Here.
Councilman William Dittmer.
Here.
City Attorney James Matthew.
Here.
City Manager Vincent Lupo.
Here.
Okay, let's roll. Do I have a motion to approve the council minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Announcements. Is that you, Mr. Lupo?
General public first, sir.
No, it actually, okay. Comments from the general public. Do I have a list? If it's the only one. Thank you, Reverend. Thomas Brown.
3 minutes.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. Thank you to all the city employees that were involved in the restoration of the limestone fishing pier. It looks great. I will be fishing there with some of my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and it will all be catch, take pictures, and release. We hope there'll be a ribbon cutting for it. I was surprised to witness at the March 14th City Council meeting the approval to use CRA money to fund the new full-time code enforcement officer for the remainder of the fiscal year. Doesn't anyone remember the negative press and the negative comments from Kristen Tonkin, Pasco County Commissioners Mike Moore, and Ron Oakley about the way the city is spending CRA funds on payroll? Does the council not care about the county commissioners and the residents not wanting CRA funds spent on payroll? I'm still waiting on a response from building official Muse in regards to the illegal fences on Candlelight Court. What is being done? I offered Mr. Muse the option of passing the problem to code enforcement if he were not going to take any action. I don't know if he chose to do something or do nothing. I'm also still waiting for City Manager Lupo's interpretation of the word proposed. In my letter of April 13th, I asked the city manager if a person could propose a name for a lake or a park that had no name. I have not received a reply, therefore I do not know what the city manager's position is on the matter. Thank you.
You? Reverend Lord.
Evening, Mayor, Council, everybody. Leonard Lord, I pastored 8114 Lee Oak Kid Avenue. Just a couple of things. I really want to thank the council and the city for the Easter egg hunt and joining together in that. I remember when we had the meeting with the county and they were talking about the vision for the county and Port Richey, the one thing they mentioned, they wanted more things like the Easter egg hunt. So thank you so much for getting behind that, and we particularly want to thank our police department, fire department, the work they put in and all. I wasn't able to be here. I'd worked on the preliminary stuff, but got nothing but good reports, and they said they were really, really great. So just thank you, and just hope we can partner together greater in the city. Also want to thank those that come out with Corporal Wilcox for the human trafficking and the sex clubs. That looks good. It seems like the commissioner's on board. I've been with them the last 2 times and was with them today on it, and it seems like they're getting that in order. But thank you for those that come out. I know Councilwoman Britton was there, and the captain and chief, and I don't know who else since I was out of town. We just, but thank you for that. Also, a week from Thursday is our National Day of Prayer. We got the resolution today. We were with the commissioners, and so we'll be having that prayer at 12 noon. That's May 4, from the government building. Just to encourage you to come out. We'll be praying, of course, for military, our officers, and the different things. So particularly for the police department and so forth. Corporal Wilcott, I believe, will be there to head it up for the sheriff's department. So if you could note that and come out with us, we have a great time joining there with the county and just crying out to the Lord for a better nation. Okay, thank you all so much, and Lord bless you.
Thank you. Okay, I have comments from the city manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council. I have basically two or three small items that may appear small, but they continue to be rather significant for our community. The first one is our water production and distribution and quality continues to improve across the board. We now have a completely new line item that we've added to the system, which is called recovered water. We were recovering water in vast amounts that has not been done since November of last year. We have a anticipated annualized savings in excess of $350,000. If these numbers are to continue to be true, we will be in a different category entirely with respect to our water production facilities and water quality. We have had no significant reports about discolored water. We flushed the lines. They continue to operate beautifully. We are looking forward to continued lifelong source of pride for this community in our water production, distribution, and water quality. The second issue that I have is that for many years now, the city has been carrying on its books an account equivalent to almost $635,000 that has been, we've been working diligently with the city attorney and city staff and the county to resolve the issues. I'm happy to report that we believe that within a matter of weeks, the issue will be resolved, and will release a significant amount of funds from our subject reserves. Our auditors will be extremely happy with that, as will all of us. It harbingers a better working relationship, in my opinion, with the county and the county staff. There is one other item, actually two, I'm sorry. The fishing pier has progressed exceptionally well. We would hope that maybe by next week or at the latest, the first week of May, to have a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's moved along significantly. We're quite proud of the work, as are our immediate neighbors, Whiskey River. They're very proud of what we have done. They're very protective of what we've done, and I think that our citizens will really enjoy the first of what I hope to be is 2 more fishing piers in the community. And then the last one is a happy and a sad note. We have 2 long-term employees who are retiring from our community, from our work here with the city. Mary Martin from our building department, and Sergeant Robert Kern. Both of them have submitted resignations. We wish them the best in their retirement, and of course we'll be having a little something for them later on in the week. And those basically are the comments that I have, and I'll answer any questions council may have of me.
Do you want to explain the funds that were,
They are funds that were in dispute with respect to payments on water services, on water deposits. They were misaligned, misaccounts, but they have been worked out to just about everyone's satisfaction. And it's taken concerted effort from staff, from city attorney, and from our county co-partners to resolve the issues, and we're looking forward to finally resolving this after many, many years. It'll make a difference in our fiscal planning for this upcoming budget.
those funds will become available, they were,
We've had these funds set aside because of law in case there had to be payments. So they were set aside in reserves. So we could not use them, we could not touch them, as they were mandatorily set aside in case we had to make payments to that amount. As of now, is our understanding, the vast bulk of these issues will be resolved, and those funds will be able to be released for our utilization.
okay. Thoughts, comments? That bring it to the mayor and council. Any comments there?
It's great news all around. The pier is, I can't wait. Looking forward to that. And the water account, thank God we finally turned the corner. It's nice to know that we're gonna start making money in our water department. It's just, and something you can count on. I think it'll help us go a long way with the city. Those funds that we've been using in the past for that be freed up for the good things we want to do. Congratulations and thank you to all the staff for all the hard work. You're definitely taking us forward, and I speak for myself, and I'm sure as well as for council, we're thrilled at the progress. Thank you, and good wishes and happy retirement to those who are leaving us. Served us well for a lot of years.
Mhm. Any thoughts? Nancy? Anything?
Oh, I did on that, so
Okay.
those of you that
Anything else?
are fortunate to retire, good for you, go enjoy life. I can't wait.
Chief, I direct this to you. When these fishing piers come online and people are out there, there's a new culture. You're gonna establish a culture there. Can be guys that just wanna drink and are homeless or whatever, itinerant people. And if you started out where you're watching that this is it's under control, there's no complaints from the neighbors that there's drunks out there, you can mold that culture. So I hope you'll keep that in mind. And that is all I have to say. I have a consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second? Okay, I have actually got someone that wants to talk to this in the public. And that would be Thomas Mariani. There he is.
Thomas Mariani, 5602 Bay Boulevard. At a previous
Okay.
meeting, I remember Attorney Matt Thal talking about we couldn't lower the millage rate because if we were to lose the red light cameras, it would cause a financial hardship on the city. We couldn't afford half of a reclaimed water line up front. We needed to get, at one time, we needed to get rid of both the fire chief and the police chief because of financial reasons. You painted a picture on how the city stands financially. My first question is, are you going to spend Port Richey money on a costly dredging project? Councilman Rowe, Dittmer, Councilwoman Sorrell, Councilwoman Britton, and Mayor Massad, will this costly dredging project allow you to get a bigger boat into your property? Will this costly dredging project increase your property values? And what does this costly dredging project do for Port Richey residents who don't live on Miller's Bayou? And my last question is, what is the total cost for this dredging project?
Well, you want a few answers real quickly?
Sure.
First of all, the canals are not all off Miller's Bayou. You realize there's
I
Sand
realize
Pebble,
that.
Sand Pebble, Harbor Isles, and the north side, Betty, Green, and whatever you Coons Channel. So yes, it will raise the values of the properties, and
On the water,
as, I will tell you something, the fishing pier at Whiskey River will raise the values of properties that are not on the water that are there. Because when you buy a house, you buy the amenities that are correct to it. So that's the best answers I can give you. We will have a boost in our property taxes, in our revenue, in our ability to,
and what is the total cost for this project?
we haven't bid it out yet.
What, do you have any estimates on how much?
My
it's gonna
estimate is $3 million.
cost? And and that money will come out of the general fund?
It'll come out of where the grant money, general fund, CRA, wherever we have to take it. I have also David Solheim. Solheim. You look familiar, but I can't read your writing.
You probably don't recognize me either.
I do.
Got a haircut. Okay, I'm gonna, my name is David Solheim. I live at 5538 Quist Drive. And my subject of my comments tonight is the replacement of the sidewalks on Quist Drive.
Correct.
From Old Post Road to Wilkins Street, I believe it is. I would like to start by asking if any of you got the chance to walk down the sidewalks on Quist Drive, since I commented them on the March 28th meeting.
I have, sir.
You have one. Okay, thank you. I was just curious, it's all right. Mr. Mayor, you and the other two new council members inherited this situation from a long list of mayors and council people. To put it bluntly, they all kicked this can down the road to where it now sits in your lap. My question is, are you going to be the administration that acts responsibly enough to correct and eliminate this threat to the safety of our residents? I hope so. My problem is that it is not possible for me to describe in 3 minutes the danger inherent in these broken sidewalks and the liability they pose for our community. I am therefore asking that you push the pause button on this topic until our next meeting. This would give you and the council members time to walk down these sidewalks and familiarize yourselves with my concerns. After you view these walkways, I hope that you will agree that this topic should be placed on the agenda of the next meeting. And I understand that this was discussed. I was unable to make the last meeting, which I really do appreciate it. It just didn't fall on deaf ears. And I'm just wondering where we go from here.
If I might, Mayor. Mr. Stallman, I took very seriously your comments at 2 meetings ago, even though you weren't at the last one. I have personally walked those along with my Public Works Director. We are in the process of analyzing more than just that section alone. The city has many sections in need, and in, the last budget had no room for that issue. They were not budgeted at all. I will certainly take a look at it in this coming budget cycle after we complete our analysis and bring it to council for council's decision. And that's about all I can tell you. I can also tell you that unless there is an absolute emergency, we will not be addressing that issue in this calendar year, which ends on September 31st.
No, I kind of expected that and understand it. That you just can't pop that much money out of your pocket and do it.
In your particular instance, on that particular street, if you will look, you'll see that those sidewalks are far from standard by any stretch of the imagination. We have an entirely different set of codes that we must comply with today because of various mandates from both the federal and state governments, ADA, et cetera. It's just not a matter of pouring concrete like it used to be in the old days. They have to be properly placed, they have to be properly sized to accommodate wheelchairs. There has to be ramps. So it's not as, I wish it were just that simple. If it were, we'd just be out there with concrete wagons and trucks. But I promise you that we are analyzing more than just your area, and we'll come up with some ideas for council for their consideration during the upcoming budget cycle.
When is the upcoming budget
We've
discussion?
just begun it.
Yeah,
We, the staff, are just beginning to put it together. It'll come before, we have a whole list of dates I'll be more than happy to publish for you. It'll culminate in an acceptance of a budget sometime the end of September.
yes. Well, I agree with you that the sidewalks are definitely not up to any standard.
Correct.
The only thing they're good for right now is landfill, and maybe they won't even do a good job with that.
And sir, as you well know, there are sections in our community without sidewalks whatsoever.
Well, I know. They've
So,
never had
but
them.
it's an issue, it's an issue that our city council has to deal with. Obviously, in the past, they felt that they did not have the economic wherewithal to address those specific issues. I can only assure you, we're taking a hard look at it. I'll present it to council for their decision.
Well, I appreciate that, because it is a tremendous liability. I have experiences with I have seen people who have just fallen on sidewalks, and they are horribly injured for the rest of their lives. It has a tremendous effect. I know a lot of people think it's a little scrape on your elbow or your hands or something. People have died from falling on sidewalks, and my concern is because of the length of time that those sidewalks have been like that people might look at us as not being very serious about our, due
Diligence.
Due diligence.
due diligence, that's right, sorry.
There isn't also an immediate alternative, just simply take them all up and leave dirt.
Well,
That wouldn't be very pleasant for anyone.
is
So
that a threat? Is that a
you're
threat?
gonna have to allow us a little bit of time to do the analyzation and presentation to council.
Yes, I understand all that, but you have to understand that asking us to wait a little time after it's been probably decades since they should have been replaced. I've talked to neighbors over there, they've been here for more than 20 years, they said they didn't walk on those sidewalks 20 years ago. Now my whole life, and I come from middle to lower class neighborhoods in big cities, I have never ever seen anything like this, and sidewalks like that, and I cannot for the life of me understand how people, again, there's new folks here, it has nothing to do with it, but how all these people over all these years could have gone into discussions for a waterfront park. I think it's a 10-year, $1.3 million plan, I heard. I don't know if that's right or not, I know I read it. And I see that we're already going ahead with construction on that, and we've already put in a brand-new sidewalk over there. Where did all that come from? And how is it possible that you all can allow that to happen when we have to stumble down our streets?
Sir, with all due respect, it comes from a series of governments who set priorities that government and the people who they represent agreed with. That's all I can tell you.
I didn't hear it the last.
It comes from a series of governments who make specific decisions about how to best utilize the funds at hand for what specific purposes. And inasmuch as they are the elected representatives of people, that becomes the will of the people. There are some issues that come before council that in their minds take precedence over others.
Yes, that's what I actually said. It's, they've passed it on and on. If I may, just one more. The way I look at the projects and their priorities, we have cotton candy projects. Let's fix up the park, hooray.
David,
Okay.
your time's
And-
up, but I will say this, we will not kick it down the road. And in all the years I've been on council, I've not heard this complaint from that section. So you're probably gonna make hay. But if you let Mr. Lupo have a little time to look at it, it's just not been brought to us and pushed forward over the years very, very often.
Okay, I can't accept that as a,
Well,
as an
your
excuse
time's
or a
up
reason.
anyway, sir, so,
It's right there, you can walk there from here. That's how close it is. How could all these people for 20 years say, oh, we weren't aware? I don't buy it. But I do hope you work on it, and I do hope you put us first, because.
You have my word on it, sir.
What
You
is
ha-
it?
You have my word on it.
Thank you.
I think we got. Okay, I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now,
Item number 2.
we're at number 2, discussion of a
City cemetery.
cemetery.
If I might, Mayor?
Please do.
Some time ago, Councilman Britton brought an issue to me with respect to cemetery, as did several other council people in general conversation, but more specifically, Councilman Britton was very adamant about the potential for this community developing a cemetery. In 1996 and 97, when I was the city manager here, I had the very good fortune to be able to obtain a donation of land, a donation from the Dr. Gills Foundation. That donation of land equated to approximately 50 acres of land. It was specific in its donation for the construction of a cemetery. And that was the initial parameters of that donation. In subsequent negotiations with the Gills Foundation and people, I was able to have them release that restriction from a cemetery so that that land could be used for whatever city purposes, passive in nature, basically, that the city might wish. To that end, I had major studies conducted on that property. There are lots 20, 29, 30, 31, 32, and lot 54, specifically for the potential utilization of that property for more than just a cemetery. It has first phase evaluations with respect to soil conditions, with respect to what kind of materials in there. It's rather conclusive, and this was done back when I was here in the 90s. Subsequent to that, I left, and the property has lain as it has for many years, with the exception of 2 events. We've placed at one corner of that property our brush pile, which we have most recently updated, added mandatory water lines, fire hydrants. And alongside of that property is a site called the Bandora site, which is our well field. At this stage, that property still remains as it was back for many, many years ago. It is a very unique piece of property in that it is a large piece of property. It is in the current flood zone, as most of the city of Port Richey is, but it is at the 100-year floodplain level. It is currently zoned agricultural. It is approximately 10 or so feet above mean sea level. If we were to do certain kinds of construction, that would be permitted within that zoning and within that designation. As most of us know today, as we begin to age, one of the things that we begin to really take a hard look at is our final resting places. And that is a major industry throughout not only the state but the country. And they involve many different mechanisms. Everything from the Neptune Society with cremation and burial at sea to cremation and or bodily interment, and some latest issues that are coming out, mechanisms that are coming out today that involve liquefaction of individuals. Aside from that gruesome kind of thinking, the industry itself is a vibrant one, in that anyone who has most recently, for good or for bad, purchased a cemetery plot understands the extreme expenses involved in those purchases. To that end, there are several communities in this county who have cemeteries. This need not be, if the city council wishes to proceed in investigation. Our building official has already begun to investigate the whys, wherefores, and laws. This package also has been turned over to our city attorney for his edification. And the issue specifically is the ability to have a place in this city as a cemetery so designated. It need not, under different forms of operation, there are many different forms of operation where we are nothing more than basic caretakers, have contracted out with a special organization, and there are many of them who do the actual interment, whether we decide to go full bore, build a mausoleum, build administrative facilities, et cetera. There are all different kinds of issues. And basically, the bare basic number for a successful cemetery operation is approximately 30 acres. Given that this property has some peaks and valleys and has different issues, we could probably get very close to that 30 acres. In addition to that, there's also a further potential that if we proceed down that path, some of those sections that may have to be leveled out, we might be able to utilize, and I believe that is completely possible, some of the dredge material for eventual relocation there at absolutely no cost other than transportation to us, and the state set aside funds for that. So to simply answer Councilwoman Britton's question, it is a very distinct and real possibility that should require some legitimate consideration by this council, and eventually work towards some consideration as to whether or not we should, in fact, move in that direction. In the alternative, if that is not the course that council chooses, we now have isolated a piece of property that has a different kind of potential for some time in the future or for whatever we decide to do. But there is a very real possibility that a separate enterprise can be established with regards to a cemetery. It existed back in 1997, it exists today in 2017. And that's my report, Councilwoman Britton.
I just want to add a couple things to that.
Sure.
First of all, what brought my attention, I'm a 31-year resident here. A lot of people have lived here a long time. And, you know, as you get older, you definitely think of those things. Of course, I'll be thinking about Jim's first, but, just funny.
It is fun.
So, but anyway, so, you know, I went to the city of Newport Richey and, on Pine Hill Road looking for cemetery plots a couple years back. And that lot is completely sold out. And actually, there's people waiting if somebody sells the property. And then I talked to Dade City, and that's kind of where I really got excited, because I realized Dade City also had a cemetery, and the cemetery was not started by Dade City, it was given to them. And so it has, there were a lot of handwritten records that they're having a difficult time figuring out and trying to make sense of. And a lot of the records as far as where the burial plots are in Dade City are all hand-drawn, and so it's very difficult. So after talking to the clerk over there, she's pretty much in charge of that, she explained that if we were starting something from scratch and we had the appropriate software that would lay out the plots and have everything really, you know, to the T, and I's dotted, T's crossed, and really if we spent a little bit of money upfront having a good software program, that it would be very easy to run. They do have one employee who basically handles everything over there and spends most of the time in the cemetery, pruning trees, taking care of the grave sites, et cetera, et cetera. And then I said to her, well, when you need to dig a plot, you know, how do you do that? And she says, well, typically they would call a vault company in to do that, which I haven't investigated a whole much about it. But so anyway, she said each lot has 6 spaces. Now currently they are charging veterans $750.
Each lot is how big?
That I don't know. That I don't know. But I know they're charging veterans $750. It doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter where you live. You can get if you're a veteran, you can get a lot for $750. If you're a resident, it's $800, and then if you're a non-resident, it's $850. That's really a good deal.
It is.
We would have to probably, you know, I don't want this. I kind of want this for the residents of Port Richey. But of course, you know, there probably aren't enough residents to fill it up, but, and we'd have to, you know, sell lots to other people. But initially, my thought is there's probably a lot of people in Port Richey that have been here a long time like I have, and possibly would want that to be a final resting place for them. And so I thought it was worthy enough to bring to council. I was really surprised when Vince said, hey, I've already, you know, looked into this years ago. And then the city, did I say the city of Zephyr Hills
Yeah.
has one? But then the city clerk from Dade City had sent me some information about different companies that they've gotten in touch with that can really assist us in doing this the right way from the very beginning.
If I might assist you, Councilwoman, there's a very specific series of modern things that we would go through, which you began to allude to. It involves everything from the very initial planning to yearly planning updates to computerization. Is a very specific science today. And it's the very first thing that you begin to do once you make the decision to move in that direction. It is extremely manageable on a very small, limited by very, again, depending upon size and scope, whether it's strict interment, whether it's mausoleums. So it is, from that perspective, a completely manageable program, well within our capabilities. And if it is council's desire for staff to continue to research, we'd be more than happy to do that and bring some ideas back to council.
Okay.
Well, whatever you guys wish, I just wanted to bring it to the table.
Now, Vince, you said we have 50 acres and come out.
There's approximately, not approximately, well, give or take, there's approximately 50 acres of land there. Generally speaking, now it depends on what you intend to do with the site, but a 30-acre site is generally the site of choice for size, moderate. Obviously, we're not talking about huge mausoleums, et cetera, so it's a variable. But I believe we can, after a reexamination, come up with at least 30 acres that would be doable. The zoning is agricultural, which is no problem.
Does that mean, when you say doable?
As a location, 30 acres. 30 acres of land doable. Remember, the site is a little over 10 feet, according to these records, above mean sea level. And given our conditions, there is a possible fluctuation of the absolute depth. The soil analysis that was conducted then takes it down literally 1,000 feet, different kinds of substrata, sands, and down to lime rock. But there are several low spots within this property that would have to be considered, and it's all part of how you decide to configure the property. I would initially at least consider reconfiguring the property to relocate which is not that big of an issue, relocate our brush site in order to allow us this square, a just about square parcel of land in about the 30-acre size. So from that perspective, you have a piece of property that is potentially doable. And I say potentially because, again, this report dates back almost 20 years when I was here. So there may have been changes. This report is complete. Even at that time, I brought this issue to council. Council approved it. I brought it. I had it. It was not even in our city. I had it annexed into this city, went through the county. We went through everything that was required at that time, and I had the complete package ready to go, but it just never went anywhere. So it is in our city. It is our property. It is approximately 50 acres. And it is subject to whatever will the county chooses, the city chooses to do with it, whether we move in the direction of cemetery or some other passive activity. It is entirely up to this city council. The economic wherewithal, provided there are no major obstacles within the site itself, it is eminently doable with a limited amount of funds.
The thing I think we need to remember is that once all the lots are sold, then it has to be maintained long-term.
In
So
perpetuity.
we have to get, right, and we have to make sure that those funds are gonna be there.
Yes, it's a simple actuarial accounting. So many lots, so much money in perpetuity. It's essential it's an actuarial
Right, that's
thing.
kinda what they were explaining to me over at Day
Yeah, I'm well into it. Mr. Muse and I have been working on it. We're about there.
So we don't have a clue of how many plots per acre you have?
You really can't go there because you first of all have to make the determination to exactly the total new topography that's there. And then what direction your cemetery will take, whether it's going to be a mausoleum with many little crematorial aspects to it, whether you're looking at interment, there's different aspects. So obviously, if you're looking at placing urns in special shelves, you can get, 50 across the wall where you can probably only get about 20 individuals interred. So it's an actual number.
It could be a mixture of different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's whatever makes the most common and economic sense in order to allow an actuarial table to maintain this many plots in perpetuity.
Right. Right.
Is this a capitalistic endeavor or just?
At this stage of the game, we'll have to take a very hard look. It may be, but I don't know the volume that we're talking about
Okay.
at this stage. But now, all we're really doing is our own internal investigation.
Well, yeah, how do you feel, Mr. Vice Mayor?
I don't know, we didn't have really anything outside of just the.
Well, that's because we just wanted to bring it up and kinda get a feel, because we don't really know a whole lot of anything.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to look into it further. It's something I think.
Well, how about, I would love to accept a motion to have a little further numbers, and a little more.
Well, I don't think we need to do a motion. I think we can just have a consensus that if everybody wants to go forward and
However you wanna do it, you can
Because
do it.
if I have a
Know what you
consensus
want.
of council, I'll be more than happy to move forward of doing some initial research. I'm not spending any money,
Don't
please
spend
be
money.
aware of that.
Okay.
How you feel?
How I feel? Oh, I'm dying someday, so I do want, I'm interested.
You guys got to spray me over.
Yours mine.
yeah, he's definitely got one.
I always wonder, like, some of our big citizens, Mr. Gianelli, I don't think he'll be in New York, I assume.
Sir?
My thought on it is I just realized we have 30 acres of usable property. What other things can be done with that piece
You-
of property
I was
that
thinking-
may actually generate
But-
revenue for the city as opposed to
But it has
perpetuity
to be
of
passive.
breaking even? There's a lot of passive things that can.
No, no, I'm sorry.
No, that's- you-
No,
you
it does
said that,
not.
Mr. Lupo.
That's one of the really, that's
Oh,
one
it
of the.
doesn't have to be passive.
Yeah, it does not. That's
So that
expired.
opens
Yeah,
up a
it
whole
does
lot
not
of other
be
No,
passive.
things
it's
for
one of
30
the
acres.
issues, it's one of the issues that I resolved many, many years ago with the Gills Foundation. They were kind enough to remove the condition of cemetery and passivity. And in fact, our esteemed attorney will tell us, whatever is in there is, as of, I believe, November or December of 2017 is gone. It's just simply removed, because I did this back in '97. So those 20 years are up, and council can make any decision. It's your property. It's the city's property.
Right, and
You
I-
may elect to
I don't
put
have a
Ferris
problem
wheels
with the
in there.
cemetery is that, but it just comes to attention, now we have 30 acres that maybe
You
could
potentially have,
use
you potentially
for the
have
city.
even more, sir.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
and I considered that, I'm thinking, but I don't know, I just felt as though the cemetery would add just more value to an already, nice little city, so it would give our residents something more. But, I mean, we can look at anything, I'm open to
Right.
whatever you guys wanna do, but,
Yeah, I've got no, I'm not saying not to proceed with that, I'm just saying that.
well, do you have
I'm
any
kinda
ideas
surprised-
coming off the top of your head?
No, but 30 acres is a lot of
I have
property.
something
is.
coming off the top of my head.
Yeah.
What?
Medical research facility with a nice little cemetery by it.
What kind of medical research?
They do go hand in hand.
Wait a minute, what kind of medical research?
Well, I can't reveal that.
I'll be,
Terminal
council,
landing.
I'll be more than happy to take another look at it with my staff, and I'll come back to you.
I think the
in
consensus is spend no money,
And take a look.
bring something to us.
I certainly shall, counsel.
Okay, let's move this on.
I mean, I don't see why there's not any kind of economic potential, because
Oh, there is.
we didn't spend any money for it.
No, no, no,
We're
there
gonna charge
is.
for the plots, and,
Beyond even if we had purchased it, there is indeed economic potential. Cannot deny that, and I'll give you numbers to verify that.
And it may be that she just wants her and Jim to have 30 acres on their own.
No, I'm gonna be there.
I think we can fit a third.
Yes.
Thanks.
we'll just
Did you
go in the
wanna talk to me?
backyard.
That's all right. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right, there's laws against that.
Okay. All right, moving on and hopefully upward. Okay, false alarm penalties. This is Mr. Matthews, and I'm probably the one that generated this.
No, I don't think. No, that wasn't is this on? Yeah, there you go. If you remember, this is the false alarms ordinance you see in front of you. This is more housekeeping. This is the only ordinance we have in our books now that gives a dollar amount next to the fine. You see it there, class 5 fine, class 4 fine, class 3, 2 fine. I want to remove the dollar amounts. Right now, they're not correct because the county changed their dollar figures. So rather than put a dollar figure in there and change it each year, I just want to eliminate it. It's only one ordinance now. If you remember, a couple of months ago, I put the new figures for the county with the classes. Previously, these figures had been taken out by Mr. Public probably a year and a half. I think he just missed this one. I searched, this is the only one out there. And so now we're down to just the one ordinance, and otherwise you gotta do this. And each time you do this, we have to pay for, if we were doing it each year, you pay for those advertisements, and you also pay MuniCode to do it. So I just wanna do it once, we can save a couple of grand a year.
All right, that's a great idea.
So it's a housekeeping item, just looking, I'm looking for permission just to prepare an ordinance eliminating the dollar figures.
Approval
Okay.
to amend ordinance 14-636.
Have a second.
Second?
Okay, Jim,
Yes.
discussion. Would the ordinance read such that each time the county changes, ours almost all?
Yeah, well, what it's gonna do, yes, in other words,
All right.
what it's gonna say is, if, Mr. Mayor, if you see A2 in front of you, right? And it says on the 4th false alarm within a 12-month period, all it'll say now is a class 5 fine will be assessed.
Okay.
And then you've already seen the ordinance
Their
I've
numbers.
done, where Class 5, they can look for it somewhere else, see what a Class 5.
So the class 5 will come to the counties.
It comes in the county, and we change that, whenever the county changes that. We're trying to make it so we change it in one place instead of 6, and save
Okay.
6 publications.
Sounds like the way we ought to do things. Anyone in the public want to speak to that quickly? Okay, we got a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That next one.
And that, Jim, I think is what we want to continue to do
Yeah,
as we go
yes.
along.
They're just along those same categories that were already being ordered.
My dear,
Well, you
are
know,
you slacking on the job?
no, I'm not. Our city manager is preempting all of my old business.
Okay.
I
Any,
do have one question, though, that Mr. Hughes isn't here tonight, so I'll hold it until enough further time.
All right.
Bill, thank you for everything you did over there. It's looking great. Saw it the other day. It's gonna get better. Are we gonna paint that? The top?
It's stained, it's heavy stained and painted.
It's what?
It's stained and heavy painted.
I haven't, oh, you mean what's below it now? So we're gonna just leave it, right?
Yeah.
Right? Any other thoughts? I could,
Before, the council meeting's about to end. I think this gentleman I ran into at Home Depot, you might have something to speak about. I'm not sure. Did you
there's
want
a gentleman at home.
You guys are finishing up, that's fine.
to? No,
Well,
if it's up, the.
buddy, we're getting out of here early. You better hurry. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, she's gonna attack me. Watch her. She's
Got a
coming.
sign.
She's coming.
How are you?
And Bill Green knew that. You said you use it as
Oh, I did.
for any other.
Is that in there?
Huh?
But that was
This is always in there.
Oh, it's always, I didn't know that. I don't have it in mind.
Well, you know, I personalize mine.
My son's married.
I'm a woman. I have to read their